Yeah. So I'm loading the Uber app, guys. First thing that shows up is this Chicago TMP driver partner education. Make sure you read this before this. So last week, Lyft had one too. Uber's is different, 9 pages. As proof that I read it, I'm going to read it out loud to y'all if you want to know what drivers are required to say they agree to. This is a new thing. This is not part of when you sign up. This just shows up in every driver in Chicago's app. Introduction. Per the City of Chicago Rule 1.08, Uber encourages all driver partners using the Uber app in Chicago to review this document. The information outlined below is meant to help Uber driver partners comply with TNP, Transportation Network Provider, rules established by the City of Chicago. Table of contents. A. Guidelines on transporting passengers in a safe manner. B. Guidelines on driving in the City of Chicago. Rules of the road specific to the City of Chicago. C. Zero tolerance policy pursuant to Rule TNP 1.09. D. Guidelines on providing service to people with disabilities. E. Guidelines on compliance with City of Chicago laws specific to the transportation network provider industry. A. Having a safe experience. Uber consulted with drivers, law enforcement officials, and road safety experts to develop 7 safety tips for you to keep in mind when on the road. Number 1. Stay focused on driving. You can help keep roads safe by staying alert, keeping your eyes on the road, and avoiding texting while driving. Uber recommends using a mouse to position your phone in a place where you can easily see it to help reduce dangerous distractions. It's also important to stop and rest when needed to prevent drowsy driving. Number 2, watch for pedestrians and cyclists. Be on the lookout for people who are walking and biking. This is especially important when you are pulling over for a drop-off or pickup, or when you are driving at night. Number 3, keep your drop-offs legal. Drop off passengers in safe and permissible locations, like passenger loading zones, or where there is enough space to pull over without blocking bike lanes. It's important to know your local laws so that you can abide by them. See Section B, Driving in the City of Chicago, below for more details. Number 4, encourage backseat riders. Consider inviting riders traveling solo to sit in the back seats. This allows them to safely exit from either side of the vehicle to avoid oncoming traffic, and also gives you both some personal space. Number 5, spread the word to buckle up. A great way to start your trip is by reminding your riders to buckle up. In the vast majority of states, seatbelt use is required by law, so don't forget to fasten yours. Number 6, take the high road. Uber's community guidelines call for both riders and drivers to always treat each other with respect. If you encounter a difficult rider, your actions can help manage that situation. Uber suggests that you remain calm, avoid confrontational topics of conversation, and respect people's differences. If you ever feel uncomfortable or unsafe, you can end the ride at any time. And in an emergency situation, always call 911 first. Then, when it's safe, report the incident to Uber. Number 7, give feedback. Your opinion matters. It helps promote a safe marketplace. Simply rate the rider after your trip and add your comments through the Help tab in your app. Uber welcomes reports of rider behavior, good or bad. More information can be found at that site. Safety tips. Read Uber's community guidelines at t.uber.com/community guidelines. What unsafe experiences may look like. Actions that threaten the safety of drivers and riders will be investigated and may lead to permanent deactivation of your driver account. For example, physical contact with riders. Uber's community guidelines make clear you shouldn't touch or flirt with other people in the car. As a reminder, Uber has a no-sex rule. That's no sexual conduct between drivers and riders while on app, no matter what. And you should avoid unnecessary and unwarranted physical contact with riders. Use of inappropriate and abusive language or gestures. For example, asking overly personal questions, using verbal threats, and making comments or gestures that are aggressive, sexual, discriminatory, or disrespectful. Unwanted contact with riders after a trip is over. For example, texting, calling, or visiting someone in person after a ride has been completed. Breaking the local law while using Uber. For example, texting while driving, speeding or otherwise breaking local traffic laws, and using Uber to commit a crime, including drug and human trafficking, or the sexual exploitation of children. Safe driving. Uber expects drivers using the app to drive safely. Man, that's so sad that they have to say this. Don't you think so? I think it's so sad that they literally have to say this. They have to write it all out and make it this clear and use this descriptive of language of negative behavior. I think it's sad. What's even more sad is they used to rematch you. Sometimes when you would drop someone off at O'Hare or Midway, the airports in Chicago, they would rematch you right away with another passenger that wants to be picked up from the airport. Now, granted, sometimes you would have dropped a passenger off right near the end of the airport, the exit, and you're not supposed to wait. After you drop someone off, you have to leave. You have to get out the airport. You can't wait there. They have a rideshare loading zone. But sometimes you get rematched, and they'd be like towards the beginning of the terminal, and you'd be at the end. And I'll bet you some people waited there and called their passenger and told them to come to the terminal, to the end of the terminal. And it could take 5-10 minutes for the passenger to walk all the way down there. So I'll bet you that some drivers did that. Now, the O'Hare and Midway, Chicago laws, they do not allow rematching for Uber and Lyft. Because I'll bet you some drivers ruined it for everyone else. I didn't do that. Every time I had that, I drove all the way around so I can go right into the loading zone where I'm supposed to be, because I knew that it would jack other people's experience up. O'Hare is a nightmare anyway. At least try and make it, be a decent human being. Anyway, I'm off on a rant there, yeah. But it's so sad they have to really spell it all out like this, I feel like, man, because that means that some people didn't do this. If Uber is made aware of any type of behavior prohibited by the community guidelines, Uber may contact you as part of an investigation. Depending on the nature of the concern, Uber may put a hold on your account during the investigation. The outcome of an investigation will determine whether access to the driver app will be lost. If law enforcement is involved, Uber will cooperate with their investigation in accordance with Uber's law enforcement guidelines, which you can find at t.uber.com/law enforcement. This is more severe, more strict language than the Lyft one used. I don't remember. Lyft was mostly just like drive safe. Don't stop in bike lanes. Ever. Never stop in a bike lane, which is pretty much freaking impossible. I'll stop in a bike lane if it's 2 a.m. and I see no bikers around, and that's right in front of the person's home. So I'm being honest there. I'm gonna stop in a bike lane. I see there's no bikers coming. No one's coming. It's 2 a.m. I'm right in front of their home. They live in front of the bike lane. I'm not gonna drive around like 2 blocks away and tell them no, I can't stop there, because you live in front of a bike lane and it's illegal to stop at a bike lane at any time. There's no cops around. There's no bikers, but I'm not going to stop there because it's illegal to stop in front of a bike lane at any time. You got to have some common sense, you know? Anyway. But I will. I'll find if it's a busy time of day and there's bikers coming down, I'm not going to pull over in the bike lane because I ride a bike and it sucks when there's a car parked there because then you got to get out the bike lane and figure out another path. Go on the sidewalk and run over a person on accident. You know, you risk hitting a pedestrian walking, or go into traffic. It could be oncoming traffic, and it's just dangerous, and it makes you frustrated when you're riding a bike. So I will find a different place to pull over. I'll go around the block if I have to, if it's a lot of traffic going on. So let's move on here. You can find more information about safety, including helpful videos, at uber.com, blah, 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 blah. Read Uber's community guidelines there. Driving in the city of Chicago. This is a summary of laws and best practices that apply to drivers in Chicago, outlined by the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, BACP. Please note that knowing the law is your responsibility. The law is subject to change, and the information below is not comprehensive. For up-to-date and complete information, please visit t.uber.com/tips for motorists, and also t.uber.com/vision0chai, and t.uber.com/Illinois rules of road. Number 1, speeding. Chicago's citywide speed limit is 30 miles per hour unless otherwise posted. You know how many people obey that law out here? It can be challenging, but sometimes, especially when you have a passenger, do your best to obey it. You got to go 35, 37 sometimes because there's a dude laying on his horn, flashing his brights at you, speeding, going into oncoming traffic just to get around you. People do this stuff, you know. People get pissed off at you if you're driving 30 in a 30. It's just a fact. So maybe 35, 37, depending. If there's no one around, drive the 30. You're cool. But if there's a bunch of crazy people out here, I'm telling you, always travel at a speed that is safe for conditions. Speed increases crash risk by increasing the time and distance needed for a driver to stop. Do they really have to say the most obvious things? Speed increases crash severity in the event of an impact, particularly for people walking. Learning some new thing. Okay, I'm done. A person struck by a driver at 20 miles per hour has a 90% chance of survival. A person struck by a driver traveling 40 miles per hour only has a 20% chance of surviving the crash. I feel like those statistics are different than the ones that Lyft said. Just a thought. Number 2, failure to give the right of way. Illinois state law. Drivers must stop for people walking in crosswalks. This is true for all crosswalks, whether marked or unmarked. It is true for crossings, whether they are controlled by stop signs, signals, or uncontrolled, including mid-block crossings. Not all drivers will do that, and that's why I will stop for people walking in crosswalks, because I'm trying to walk across a crosswalk and there's cars coming non-stop and none of them are stopping. That's why you will see some pedestrians just walk out in the middle of the road and just not even look at you, just expecting you're going to stop. And you do, because you're not going to hit the guy. Maybe some people get mad at those people, but I understand. I haven't done that yet. But I understand, if you're sitting there waiting 5 minutes and no one's stopping to let you through, it's annoying if you're trying to get somewhere and you're just walking. So that's a good reminder for people. You got to stop when people are trying to cross the street. Drivers must yield to bikes. Check side view mirrors for cyclists approaching before turning. Remember to follow all applicable traffic laws. When you get out your car, use your right hand to open the door, forcing your whole body to turn around to look behind you to see if there's a biker coming. Every time, make it a habit, because you do not want to door a poor biker. That's horrible. You don't want to be the guy that does that. So definitely, yield to bikes, be aware of them. Using a cell phone while driving. That's number 3, Illinois state and local law. It is illegal to use a handheld, cell phone, or electronic device when a vehicle is in motion, with the exception of vehicle routing, GPS. Moreover, drivers with a passenger are prohibited from using an electronic device, even if it's hands-free, unless the use of the hands-free electronic device is essential to servicing passengers, i.e. GPS navigational technology or dispatching equipment, which is the Uber app. And the use of the hands-free device does not result in distracted driving. Number 4, driving under the influence. Under Uber policy, there is a zero tolerance policy for driver partners driving under the influence of an intoxicant. Number 5, disobeying traffic signals. Under Illinois law, drivers must follow all traffic signals, including red lights and stop signs. Number 6, safe pickup and drop-off. According to the City of Chicago, passengers and drivers should not open car doors into traffic. Yes, drivers can never stop, stand, or park in a bike lane. Passengers cannot be dropped off in a bike lane. See how they emphasize that? Never stop. I'm telling you right now, sometimes I do. If there's no bikers around and there's no cars around even. But if there's even a chance that there's a biker around, yeah, if you have an opportunity to go in a bike lane and not in a bike lane, choose not the bike lane every time. Dooring is opening a car door into the path of an oncoming cyclist. It is punishable by fines up to $1,000. Don't door bikers. Just like that picture there, the door zone. Pull all the way over to the curb when picking up or dropping off a passenger. Do not block travel lane. Tips for dropping off passengers. Always yield to cyclists. Number 1, before you pull over, put on your turn signal. Then look over your shoulder to check for cyclists. If you see any, let them pass before you pull over. Even when you have 3 cars behind you blaring their horns at you, laying on them for 20 seconds, wait till that biker passes and then pull over. There's gonna be people honking at you. Expect it. People in Chicago driving are angry people. They are pissed off. They probably hate their jobs. They hate their commutes. They just want to get home or to their job, and they hate driving, and they hate you for being on the road. I'm just being real with you. You gotta just forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They're just angry people. Try not to let it affect you. So number 2, when you stop temporarily, put on your hazard lights so bicyclists know what to expect. Before you pull out, check your mirror and then look over your left shoulder for bicyclists in your blind spots. Letting passengers out safely. Avoid a dooring. Pull your car as far over to the curb as possible. Warn passengers to look behind for bicyclists before opening the door. If they see a bicyclist, they should keep the door closed until the bicyclist passes. Luckily, I've never had a passenger that just open it, but I've heard of some people doing that. But that is good, especially when you're pulling over. Look and see if a bike is coming, and tell them, "Hey, there's a biker coming. Don't open the door, or keep the door closed. Don't get out." What's a positive way of saying it? Hey, stay here for a sec. Or hey, you know what? Is this where you're at? Don't try and find a way to get them not to open the door, because sometimes people are in a rush and they open the door. Or if you can, lock it. Lock it. But sometimes they'll unlock it because they can obviously unlock it themselves. But some people do open the door when the car is not even stopped yet. Some people are really in a rush just to get out. That's what I find. So, do your best. You can't control them, but just hope. Luckily, I've been blessed. No passengers ever doored a bicyclist, and I never have either. Zero tolerance. C, zero tolerance for drugs and alcohol. Uber does not tolerate the use of drugs or alcohol by driver partners while using an app, while driving on app. The account of any driver found to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol while using the Uber app will be permanently deactivated. Uber may also deactivate the account of any driver who receives several rider complaints of drug or alcohol use while driving on app. Read Uber's community guidelines. So, a tip for drivers. Sometimes you do pick up people, especially at night, who get in your car and they just smoked a ton of weed. And that's just what it is. And they're gonna make your car smell like weed. So when you drop them off, or even if you're doing an Uber pool, unroll your dang windows and air it out and just be real with them. Yo, I smell weed on you. I don't want the next passenger I pick up to think that I smoked weed and report it and get me deactivated. So do you mind if I just unroll the windows and keep it aired out? And then and then just be real with the next person too. If you think they smell anything, hopefully you don't have to even mention it. Don't even let it come into their consciousness, because you don't want them to think anything. Because you may be totally sober driving, but I've had it happen before on Lyfts where they thought I was stoned because they smelled weed in my car. Well, just because I picked up someone who had just smoked. So just a tip: air it out if you're picking up someone who just smoked. Because some people, they will report you. They will. Providing service to those with disabilities. As an Uber driver partner, you can help make transportation more accessible to everyone, including people with disabilities. Drivers using the Uber app should comply with all relevant state, federal, and local laws governing the transportation of riders with disabilities, including transporting service animals. Uber and its affiliates prohibit discrimination against riders or drivers based on disability or any other characteristic protected under applicable federal or state law. Here are a few tips for picking up and assisting riders with disabilities from one of Uber's accessibility partners. Open Doors Organization. Number 1, ask if you are unsure. If you don't know how to assist a rider, you can ask about what you can do to help. Number 2, speak respectfully. Nobody wants to be described by their disability. So instead of saying the blind man, you can say Felix, who is blind. Welcome service animals. So that's number 3. Service animals are generally allowed everywhere that their owner goes. They can look just like any other animal or pet, and there is no official certification required. Please note, the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities and their service animals. In accordance with this law and Uber's service animal policy, refusal to transport service animals may result in permanent driver account deactivation. Tips for providing service for those with wheelchairs or scooters. Learn how to store wheelchairs and scooters. Ask how you can help. Handle wheelchairs and scooters with care. Avoid touching a rider's wheelchair or scooter before asking. Avoid assuming what a rider can and cannot do. Tips for providing service to those who are blind or low vision. Offer to guide the person to your car. Describe where you are and what's happening. Avoid guiding a rider without their permission. Avoid preventing a service animal from getting in your car. Avoid preventing a service animal from getting in your car. So I have had a few people, one this year with a wheelchair, only one. And she just got it out and she basically gave it to me to put in the trunk. And then I got it out when we ended the ride. It was easy. And I've had a few blind people in the past. And they're real cool. They just know where the car is. Some of these people are amazing. They're straight up blind, but they can just like find my car, the door handle, how to get in, the seat belt, the whole shebang. There's a guy on one of the audiobooks that I made. This guy can see, he can hear walls. This guy can hear walls. So he's blind, but he just walks around his house and he can just hear them. and he knows where they are, so he doesn't hit the walls. It's amazing. It does kind of like heighten your other senses. I feel like if you lose one sense, Daredevil, right? I don't think I've ever had a deaf person, but yeah. Okay, now moving on. I've had multiple dogs though. I've had a big bulldog get in my car, big pit bull. It kind of scared me, man. That thing was huge, and I just heard so many. I'm not gonna even talk about it. Tips for providing service to those who are deaf or have hearing loss. If necessary, you can get the rider's attention by positioning yourself in front of them and or waving your hands. So I did have one guy, yeah, I had to talk to him to get in my car. He was blind. But he wasn't actually blind. He just had like surgery or something. Try using visual communication and address the person, not their interpreter, if they have one. Tips for providing service to those with service animals. Service animals help people with a variety of disabilities, both visible and invisible. Since the law and Uber policies prohibit discrimination against people with disabilities and their service animals, refusal to accept them into your car, even once, may result in a permanent deactivation of your Uber driver accounts. Service animals may sit near their owner to perform the task for which they have been trained. To avoid interrupting their work, you should never touch or interact with the animal. If there is damage or mess as a result of a service animal, then you can reach out to Uber via the Help tab in your Uber driver app for resolution. More on Uber's service animal policy at t.uber.com/serviceanimal and t.uber.com/community guidelines. More information on providing service to those with disabilities as well as helpful videos can be found at uber.com/driver/resources/accessibility. E. Comply with City of Chicago TNC laws. Required documents to display. Whenever you're accepting Uber trips into Chicago, local regulations require a decal and TNP chauffeur license to be displayed on your vehicle's front windshield. If it's not properly displayed, you may get ticketed by the city. Uber does not pay for any associated fines. When picking up at ORD or MDW, O'Hare Midway, O'Hare ORDs for Orchard, the airport requires you to also display a decal on the passenger side of your rear windshield. There's a picture of it. Decals work best on a clean windshield. Apply Uber decal to inside of clean front windshield. Apply airport decal to rear windshield. Display vehicle emblem TNP chauffeur license on your dashboard. Just like that. It's easy, guys. Driving time restrictions. The Chicago ride-sharing ordinance requires that no TNP driver operates a vehicle for over 12 hours in a 24-hour period. So they changed it, huh? It's 12 hours now. Used to be 10. That's cool. To ensure your driving is safe, your account will be unable to go online if you surpass this limit. Drive safely. More information can be found at t.uber.com/chai requirements. Airport information. Uber, number one, Uber instituted a special first vehicle in is the first one out FIFO system at Chicago Midway International Airport and O'Hare International Airport. The FIFO system only works within the designated geo-fenced area, and driver partners waiting elsewhere will not receive trip requests through the Uber driver app. Not always true. Maybe it is now. I've gotten multiple requests outside the area. If they need a driver, if a passenger's requesting at O'Hare and there's no Uber drivers in the lot waiting in that geo-fenced area, they're going to give it to the next, whoever's closest. But if there's tons of people in the lot, they're not going to, most likely. Airports require you to have the following documents when picking up riders at airports using the Uber app. Your vehicle emblem /TNP chauffeur license on the passenger side dash. The Uber vehicle decal, trade dress, must always be displayed on the front passenger windshield facing outward. Driver partners can obtain this Uber decal at their local green light hub. And the TNP airport decal in the passenger side of your rear windshield. Driver partners may also obtain this at their local Greenlight hub. Pickups at O'Hare. At ORD, Uber's technology uses a first-in, first-out FIFO queue. This means that in order to receive a trip request, you need to enter the designated waiting area, located within a FIFO zone. You will then be placed in a virtual queue where the first driver partner to enter will be the first to receive a trip request. Based on the operating agreement with ORD, the waiting area is located off Balmoral Avenue. Picking up your rider. Once you accept a trip request, navigate to the selected pickup location at ORD. So I want to mention, on the Uber app, I don't know if it works in the Uber app, but there's a little airport, there's a little plane you can hit, and I think if you touch the plane, it'll show you how many drivers are in the queue. And you can hit navigate, and I think you can it'll navigate you there. I know it works with Lyft. I'm not sure with Uber though. Just hit the little plane and it'll navigate you there. You don't have to be looking from Balmoral Avenue. Picking up your rider. Once you accept the trip request, navigate to the selected pickup location at ORD. The pickups are located between Terminal 1 and 2, departures level, between Terminal 2 and 3, departures level, Terminal 5, arrivals level. So Terminal 5 is the only one that makes sense. I've had a few passengers go to the arrivals section at O'Hare, even though it tells them explicitly to go to the departures section. They're waiting for me in the arrivals. They're like, "Where are you?" "I'm at door 3A." I'm like, "I'm at door 3A. Where are you?" I'm doing jumping jacks outside my car. "Where are you?" "Oh, you must be in the arrivals section. You're below. It's like underground. Departures is above." At Midway, it makes sense. You go to the arrivals. And it's right at the end of the terminal. Drop-offs at O'Hare. Based on the operating agreement with ORD, riders can be dropped off at departures. If you'd like to receive a trip request afterward, you'll need to keep the Uber driver app on to maintain your place in the FIFO queue. Pickups at Midway. So this is the end here. At MDW, Uber's technology uses a first-in, first-out queue. FIFO! This means that in order to receive a trip request, you need to enter the designated waiting area located within a FIFO zone. You will then be placed in a virtual queue, and the first driver partner to enter will be the first to receive a trip request. Based on the operating agreement with MDW, the waiting area is located at 7101 South Cicero Avenue. Just drive south down Cicero. It's right across the street from a Target. Picking up your rider. 1. Once you accept the trip request, the pickup location at MDW is located at arrivals door 4. Just drive in the middle lane. Just drive in that middle lane, baby. Once you get in that arrival section, boom, go in the middle. Don't be confused. Thinking, oh, the left side, the right side, boom, the middle one. That's where you got to be, okay? Right in the middle. Number 2. To meet your rider, enter the center aisle, the middle, the center on. That's right, meet him in the center. Number 3, pull over prior to picking up a passenger so as to not block the flow of traffic. Yes, do that. Drop-offs at Midway. Based on the operating agreement with MDW, riders can be dropped off at departures. Of course, anywhere. Most likely they're flying Southwest. I hope that helps, guys. Peace! Uber on!